All right. I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah. Can you guys hear all right? Can you hear all this stuff? Right? We're good? Good? All right. Yeah. So, anyways, I guess we can close this. I'm not going to be using that. So, I am using Wirecast. Someone's asking what I'm using. But let's get to the interesting stuff. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of people asking about how I use the orchestral libraries. It's something that I kind of got into about a year ago, and it was really sweet. I'd liken it to when I first started recording, and I realized that my computer, my gaming computer at the time, could actually record, and now I had the power of recording my own ideas without anyone else's help. And at that point in time, I always thought I'd have to go into a studio and spend a ton of money and time and whatever to do it. And then all of a sudden, I could do it myself, and that opened up a whole world. Well, last year, I discovered the same thing about orchestral stuff. The samples are so good that you can get these realistic mock-ups where you can have basically access to an orchestra, and you can customize exactly how it sounds and integrate it however you want. So I think that really sort of reinvigorated my love for writing, and it's probably what jump started a lot of the writing process for Periphery 3, to be honest. And it's why there's so much of that sort of like that was me sort of exploring it and seeing what I could do with it. One of the later songs that we did, and one of my personal favorite songs on the album is Loon. So I have here actually the demo project. You can see it in all its messy glory here. There's like the riff graveyard over here to the right. Anyways, I hope all this is visible. I know that this isn't as good quality as a YouTube stream, and Facebook won't let me multi-stream it. So I hope that you can actually see what's going on to some degree. But here, let's just take a listen. Let's see what we got going on here. So I guess the first part where there was orchestral stuff was. Also, apologies if the computer hiccups a bit because I'm running Wirecast and ScreenFlow, so I can record this and upload it to YouTube after the fact. And it's also running this stuff, which is pretty taxing on your system. So if you hear little pops and clicks, that's why. Anyways, so here it was really just to reinforce a theme. I have that this guitar, just this melody line here, really. No, that's not it. Must be this really simple melody line. I just wanted to have it double it, so I put some strings to it. I was using Sable by Spitfire Audio. They came out with this new version of it called Spitfire Chamber Strings, which is basically the same, just packaged nicer and kind of set up a little bit better. So you can see I have these legato articulations for violins 1, 2, and violas, and that sounds like this. Oh wait, I've also got a cello going. Looking back at that, that is pretty sloppily programmed. Sorry about that. But I guess in context it sounds fine, which is what matters. And we eventually got real musicians to play certain parts, sort of layer it, and it gets the idea across. But the solo cello library there. Let's see. This part's kind of cool. This is where like the orchestral stuff kind of comes into its own. Hey Jakey, what's up? Jake's watching. You guys should troll him because he's just trying to troll me. So yeah, this is like one of the sort of themes in the song. Alright, that's where the computer... you know what? If I unselect that, it'll be a bit better. And this does not like having to run all these things at once and play this. Sorry for all the dropouts there. Anyways, yeah, I think screen flow actually takes up quite a bit of CPU, unfortunately. But let's break this down. So I have the strings here. I think I wrote this out as a piano line first. Somewhere. I don't know if it's here. Yeah. There's actually a bunch of tracks. So you can sort of hear the chord progression outline, and that's all that I really need. Then from there, I can kind of just play around with that. I'll just compose these parts sort of around those chord changes. So let's listen to just the strings. And here, I'll open up the MIDI so you guys can follow along. When I'm not streaming, this runs totally fine. Let's see. So those are the strings there, and these are this is the brass section I have here. So they're like, man, these horns sound pretty good, don't they? Oh, I can't really play these. I have these set up, so this is a pretty interesting thing I've got set up here. It lets you do a sort of polyphonic legato if you want it. If I turn that off. Anyways, you get the idea there. It's really beautiful horns there. All together, kind of here. Alright, this is not happy. Sorry. I wonder if I'm gonna go into territory I don't usually go into. Let's just go crazy with this buffer size. Let's see if that fixes it. The idea of how all that works. So this is all just based around this piano progression here. So like trumpets here. And with this particular library, it's got this polyphonic legato that I was talking about, so you can actually get these legato transitions where it actually, you hear the transition from note to note to make it sound realistic. If you enable it and then set this one to like a different velocity, like a substantially lower velocity, so you can see this purple line is one line, and it makes it easy to sort of compose like that. You could visually see what's going on. The horns, I think I only have one line going on there, so didn't even need to re-enable that. The trombones. So it's like the different parts of the chord, and you're just separating it out into the orchestra. It's pretty cool if you do it like that. I think I have octaves going here. It's very unusual for an orchestra to have two tubas. Usually it's just one, so this is like kind of epic to have two lines. It's just octaves though. But yeah, that's basically, I'm just writing out the different parts of the chord and just like, you know, embellishing on the changes just by adding little notes here, little transitions, and altogether it builds into something bigger. It's kind of nice. I got a question here. Do I have any arrangement training, or am I just working through trial and error? Unfortunately, I'm just working through trial and error. I find this stuff really fascinating. I don't actually know very much about any of this stuff. I just kind of jumped in. I've been like learning as I go, learning about how an orchestra works. One thing I did actually was just try to deconstruct things I liked. I found this orchestral version of the Final Fantasy VIII battle theme, and I started trying to basically recreate that in a mock-up just to understand how the different parts of the orchestra work and what they would tend to do. Obviously, some of that stuff, I'm starting to notice stuff that's down to the tendency of the composer, and how a lot of the rules are kind of broken. But there are simple things which I've been trying to get better at, which like I was not paying any attention to with this stuff. Like none of these brass lines have spaces for breaths. So that's probably something that I would catch some crap for if people had to play it. You know, it's like little things that you learn about that. But it is really just trial and error. Sheet music is for nerds. No, sheet music is for people who know how to do sheet music. I don't, because I'm stupid. I have a system that works. Like, this is theory in its own sort of way. It just looks different, and I'm just using my ear to write. But it works for me. It's fun, so I like it. Yeah, the epic. This is the climax of the song. Alright, so yeah, this is like the theme that's been building up basically the whole album. It's not a concept album, but we kind of threw this theme a couple times. Once at the end of Way the News Goes, and one at the end of Absalom. Different keys, different feels, but this is where it all sort of culminates. So it's a climax in many senses. Climax. Anyways, I've got this stuff going on here. So that's the horns and the brass there, and I've been really enjoying putting some choin on everything, aka choir. choir, I am using Sound Iron Venus, which I really like. I really like the Sound Iron choirs a lot. I think they sound pretty damn convincing. I do have them hitting some pretty absurd notes, though. But all that together, that's just basically reinforcing that main line, which is here, I believe. That melody line there. So it's all just kind of working together to build that. How on earth can my computer run all that? It's struggling, man. These libraries, I will say, like, these libraries really do tax your CPUs. I have 4 SSDs, which is basically streaming off of because the spinning drive's too slow. And I just remembered, I think I updated chamber strings recently, and I think that's actually running off of the computer's hard drive, which is a spinning drive, and that's maybe why it's running a little slow. But yeah, everything else is on SSDs, and running this, the contact memory server, which basically like keeps all the samples in the RAM. There's a bunch of like boring technical stuff that I do to try to optimize it. But yeah, it's pretty full on. This is with a 1024 sample buffer. Normally I'm running at like, 64 or 128. So it is pretty, but as I said, it's getting taxed a bit more than usual just because I am running Wirecast and ScreenFlow on top of this. Let's see what we got here. This looks like it was played in and then quantized because these ends are definitely not. This is not a very neat project, but I guess you get to see the chaos of how it all comes together. That's not good. Something happened here that wasn't right. This needs to be separated out into its different harmonies there. Let's see where we're at. So for this, I'm using Albion for these like little plucks. Or not plucks. Spiccato. So this is actually the library that got me into orchestral stuff. Was Spitfire Audio Albion 1. It's a broad brushstroke approach to orchestral stuff, so it's kind of a good way to get in to see, dip your feet into it and see if you like working with this stuff. But as you can see, it's not divided out into the individual sections. It's just string high, which is violin 1, 2, and violas, and string low, which is cello and contrabass. And it's the same thing with all the sections. But I actually think that these samples sound great. As long as you don't mind doing a lot more unison stuff, which I'm doing a lot anyways, especially more epic stuff you can't get as intricate, It's a good starting point. I think these woodwinds sound awesome. Right? Like that sounds really beautiful. And they recorded these at Air, which is just a fantastic sounding room, so you can kind of use the reverb, the baked in reverb, the actual room sound. You can hear the delay on that because of the buffer size. So that's kind of cool spiccato sound there. And this actually, I probably should show you how I separate this out, because this did not get separated properly. So this is how I would do my legato. Oh man, this is terrible. Here, we're gonna do a few things. First, we're gonna make this overlap so that it triggers the legato transitions. And we're gonna bring that down. Now it should sound right. What is that? Is that not polyphonic? Let's do the same thing with this. Just all the lower notes will be. Bring that down there. Just make sure these overlap just by doing that. There we go. Now this should sound right. Let's hear it. Really loud. So yeah, that's basically how I approach it. It's like you have a much bigger band and you can divide up the chords across different instruments if you kind of understand their range and where they tend to play. And that's something I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to get better at that, understanding even where players are comfortable playing. You can sort of separate everything out to where it'll sound full, because it'll be using all these different sounds to fill out this huge chord. And I really like the sound of that. I'm a huge fan of, Yeah, I think I'll take some questions. If anybody has some questions about what I'm using or what's going on. Let's make this interactive now. How you guys doing? Thanks for watching. Do I record at 44.1? Yes, I do. 44.1 and 24-bit. I don't know. It's just worked for me. I haven't really noticed any really huge difference in sound, especially not with like metal and the stuff I'm doing, to go higher, and it just taxes the crap out of your system. This would definitely not run at like 96 very happily. Do I buy a la carte plugins or larger packages? Definitely a la carte. As I said, I started out with Spitfire Albion, which is great because it has the whole orchestra. But then that kind of made me want to get dedicated libraries. So, I mean, like, I have a ton of stuff here, as you can see. Like the Spitfire Symphonic Brass. I've got the new version of Albion, the Hans Zimmer percussion. Berlin Woodwinds is, like, the woodwind library. I still haven't... it's very intense. Like, you have everything divided out into, like, the individual instruments. And if I have one gripe with it, is that there's no ensembles. So, other than this ensemble, it's like everything's separated out so that you can do divisi writing, as it's called, where each instrument can play its own line. But it can be extremely taxing on your system if you have like an entire thing of woodwinds going. Oh, this is a big surprise. This just came out. This was if any of you guys are familiar with Cinematic Strings 2, which is like one of my favorite string libraries. This is the new version, and it sounds absolutely incredible. Um, you know what? Let's check out some of these libraries. Let's just open them up. I'll give them a quick playthrough. I have so many things here. I don't even know how to to add. Just want to add one instrument. Oh, wait, there. That's fine. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Let's check this out. This is more of a, and we're getting a little bit more technical here, but this is a more of a Hollywood sound. The Spitfire stuff is more like orchestral, more traditional. So think more like John Williams, or more like just orchestral music. Like, it's not perfect. This is, well, for one, it's loading incredibly slowly. Oh, this must be running off my hard drive as well. Man, I need to rearrange all my libraries. Here, I'll show you a Berlin woodwind flute then. So I think this patch sounds great. And there's no sound because... So that sounds awesome, but you'd have to like do all three flutes there and kind of program them. And they're each played by different people, so it's really intense. If you're just starting out, like Albion 1, for example, has just this Woods high patch, which I think sounds really good, and it's good for sketching stuff really quickly and not using up all your memory on. Oh, that's a short patch. I always like the legato patch because you can kind of play these flowing lines, and they have it separated. So let's do Woods legato. Let's see, and I'm missing like a ton of comments and questions. I'm sorry, but this is what I'm focusing on. Let's see. Let's do Wood high, because I think that sounds really good. Anyways, yeah, like that gives you a sense of what these sort of broad brushstroke patches sound like, hopefully. Let's take some questions. How damaged is my bank from these plugins? Really, I've spent a lot of money on it's kind of crazy. Like, these are not cheap, but it's kind of what I'm into now, so I mean, this is kind of my job now, so like I can justify it, but and I have a lot of libraries. I have a lot of libraries, and it's just, I don't know. I already know of some libraries I'm gonna buy when they come out. Like that new Berlin brass library looks really cool, but it's insanely expensive. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff out there that's really, really good. So it's really expensive. Do I sidechain the orchestra and periphery songs with the sound being so thick? You can do that. Sidechaining can be done. One thing I try to do, actually, and here I'll show you guys. So the question's about sidechaining, which is really just because sometimes with all these frequencies, things can get a little muddy pretty quickly. But let's see. It's like on the strings here, I just have like a simple. I'm cutting all the low end out. So I've got like a high pass, which it looks like is at 300 hertz. That's pretty high. And I'm cutting around like 750. I always find it's a little, that's where the mid-range gets a bit much. It'll make it sound sort of more hi-fi and cleaner if you cut around like 750, 800, just a little bit. I mean, you do it by ear, of course, but like, yeah. And I've got a little bit of Valhalla on here, because Valhalla is awesome. Let's see what else we've got. Would you ever do an S&M style Metallica live performance with a live orchestra? That would be awesome. I'm assuming it would be insanely expensive, and I'd probably want to work with someone to actually arrange everything, someone who actually knows how to arrange for orchestra, so that I'm not running into these limitations of like, oh, you can't really play that. Like a good example is the beginning of Marigold. I don't think is really something that's conducive to playing on a violin. It's really meant for drop C tuning on a 6 string, and I was like, it sounds really cool, but as I understand it, it was a real pain for whoever played it to actually track that. So, you know, I think some stuff would really need to be optimized to where it was actually playable. Have I ever had problems with CPU overloading on projects? Yes, a lot, because I mean, this isn't even that much stuff. I have some projects where I have like, you know, woodwinds, full brass section with full articulations and strings with full articulations and everything. And actually, if I do another orchestral stream, I'll probably get into that stuff, like the purely orchestral side and how I do like expression maps and the different articulations. But that is going to be interesting to get that working with all this stuff running with Wirecast and ScreenFlow running. One thing that you can do, and one thing that's really handy, pretty much every DAW has something like this, but render in place. So you could render this line, you know, to an audio file. It's basically like freezing. As you can see, it renders it right here. And it actually mutes the MIDI for you. And you have settings on how you can do that. But there are some projects where I've had to do that just because I have too much stuff going on and it can't handle it. And audio is very easy for it to play back. So if you're pretty sure you've got a part right, you can sort of commit to it. And then, you know, you can always undo or rebounce it after the fact. Now, let's see. What do I use as a MIDI controller? I'm using the Complete Control S61. I really like it. I have to say, I feel like it's a little short on features, and it is a pretty expensive controller. But the reason that I like it is because it has the nicest key bed. So for anyone who's actually picky about key beds, this is the one that you want to get. I just wish that there were sliders on it for something that's related to, you know, something that like physical sliders. So many of the competitors will have like 8 sliders and so much more control and buttons. This one's really supposed to be used more with their program, their proprietary program, Complete Control, which I don't even use at all. So I'm not even really getting the main benefit of it. But the thing I do like about it is the key bed. So just keep that in mind. But that's why I have that one. Let's see what we got here. All right, so what's going on in the audio, VST audio tracks in there, EQs, compressors, other mixing tools. So really, I have to say, with this stuff, it's kind of funny coming from the metal world where everything is about sort of mitigating noise, and you're working with all these really unpleasant source tones, and you're just trying to make it work, and nothing wants to work together. So you have like a lot of plugins that are basically fixing problems. I find with the orchestral stuff, it's more about just enhancing the sound, and you can really get away with a lot more stuff. In the context of this, it really is just moves to get it to be out of the way. So as I said, like just, you know, pretty insane high pass on all these instruments here. Let's see, like the brass, you know, like that has some cuts, and I'm just EQing by ear, just whatever seems boxy or whatever. The choir is even higher. But yeah, like it's just so that it's out of the way, so that when you have a full mix, like I want it to sound hi-fi there, but I also want it when it kicks in with the full instruments for it to still be. Like that has its own effect. If I take that out, it's just. So it's really about making it sit. I have some added reverb, just Valhalla sort of lazily put on. Not really too worried. It's just to give it some ambience, because honestly, it wouldn't need that if it wasn't all this other stuff. Like distorted guitars just eat up reverb. So if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't need to. I could just use a room sound. And if I was doing an entirely orchestral thing, I would just use the existing room sound, or I'd use this plugin. I'd use the close mic, and I'd use QL spaces, because I really like this. It's convolution reverb, and they've got all these different actual places. They kind of have notes on how they were captured. Like you can see, like, I don't know if you can see because the resolution is probably terrible, but this tells me that the microphone's a Neumann M50 Omni, preamps TG Red. Like all the things that, so it's like a very sort of accurate representation of these rooms. But other than that, like there isn't really a whole lot going on. Like my master bus stuff is just stuff for the metal mix, really, which is just compressor. I don't even have an EQ on there. Oh, lazy. Yeah, I mean this is a demo project, so the main point wasn't necessarily to have it sound as good as possible, but just to get the idea of how everything sounds. I think it sounds pretty good, Let's see. What software do I use to give such good desktop streaming? I'm using Wirecast, Javi. All right. What VST am I using for the orchestra? So I'm using so many different things here. So I've got Spitfire chamber strings here. I've got Cinesamples piano in blue. I love this piano. That's what I use for most everything. Oh, it's got like some crazy reverb on it though. Anyways, that's not the best representation of that because that's drowned in reverb. It's supposed to be just for the effect in the song. I'm using these are these drone things that come with Albion 1. Using damage and action strikes for the percussion. Both are fantastic libraries. And both come with complete, actually. Then the Spitfire Symphonic Brass, Sound Iron Venus. I was using Rise and Hit, but I disabled it. The patch I had was a bit weird. But this actually like makes risers. So it's let's see, where is that? So it's like you can kind of time your risers out. This comes with complete as well. And let's see. Then the old version of Albion, which they don't sell anymore, but most of it is included in this new version of Albion 1. But this isn't like a full orchestra. This is like me adding parts as I needed it. My actual orchestral template has all the sections, and I have expression maps for all the articulations. And that's something I could go into more detail with another stream. If I've used 8Do's pianos, I actually have their 1928 piano, and it's good. I just like piano in blue better. I have other pianos that I just like better personally. Let's see. And you're talking about Metropolis Arc 1. That's great. That's by Orchestral Tools. That's their version of Albion, but everything's loud. It's actually a great library, and they have an awesome choir in that. Definitely worth checking out. But it's not sort of as versatile as Albion, in my opinion. So we'll take a few more questions if there's anything else that you guys want to know, and then probably end this stream because it's probably getting boring already. So let's see what we got. Did I use the same gear for composing and creating the Deus Ex ending song? Yeah, actually, there is one other thing I used. I didn't use too much orchestral stuff in that. Um, that was more. There's a lot of electronic. There's some orchestral like percussion. I think maybe these weird string evos. Actually, I gotta show you guys these because this is just fun. Um, wait, no, I don't have them loaded. Okay, yeah, this is gonna like destroy my project if I do it right now. But yeah, I used my Moog, which I don't know if you can see. It's over here. Wherever that sounds coming from. Oh, I see. But it's got this like awesome low end to it. This is on some crazy ambient patch. It's going through my XFX on some crazy ambient patch. But I actually reinforced the bass with that, and it makes it sound huge. I'm gonna start doing that for everything. Let's see what we got. You'd like to see the orchestral template next. Okay, so I could do that for the next stream. I could actually break down my like one of my orchestral templates because it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving process. But I'll try and get that ready. Would I ever consider using a full live orchestra? Honestly, so for those of you who don't know, for Periphery 3, it was a mix of live orchestra over these samples. But or not live orchestra, small sections. So it's just like, a couple violins or, one or two passes of a player playing a section, kind of multi-tracked, and then put over these samples because these sound big, So then if you have like the realistic ones over the top, you kind of get the best of both worlds. And the reason that we did that is because a real orchestra is extremely expensive. So I'd love to be able to do that, but until we can afford it, this will be the next best thing. It's sort of using this and mixing it with live musicians in doses that we can afford. Valhalla, Shimmer for long reverb. I haven't really used Shimmer too much. I always end up going to the vintage verb, but all the Valhalla stuff's amazing. Do I enjoy these streams? Yes, I like doing these streams when they work. It seems to be working okay now. So I'm going to definitely do more and on whatever subjects you guys kind of want me to cover. I'd be happy to do that. What library do I recommend to start with? Honestly, I started with Spitfire Albion, and right now the up to date version of that would be this one, Spitfire Albion 1. And yeah, I mean, that's just where I started, so that's why I'm biased towards it. But it's what's sort of sparked my love for the orchestral stuff because it gives you the whole orchestra, and it has a bunch of extra stuff too, like crazy synth and like ambient stuff built into it, which is what this is for, like pretty crazy patches like that. And that's the beginning of the song right there. And then you have the full orchestra here, brass, strings, woods, and then there's the whole percussion side of things. So it has everything that you need to get started. You'll either get it and be like, okay, this is cool, this is enough, or I don't even like it, or you'll be like, wow, now I need to buy everything like I did. So that's what I would recommend for sure. If you want the McDonald's version of Orchestral Libraries, use Symphobia. Yeah, Symphobia is really cool. It's for like writing really quickly, I feel like, because everything's sort of laid out. It'll sound super professional, but it is very sort of limiting. Like you can't write with the same sort of freedom. But it will make your stuff sound epic with minimal amount of work. I did not know that there were Hans Zimmer Dark Knight track stems. That's awesome. I'll definitely have to check that out. I don't work with a publishing company. Periphery does. It's a little different with video games. Someone's asking about licensing. It's not like in a movie where you get like a sync license if they use it. Like it's sort of just part of their own internal deal. So it's not as financially attractive to write for video games. But I feel like I can write more genuinely for video games because I'm a huge fan of them. Like I can, because I play video games, I can kind of understand what video game songs need to be, and I even understand like how they sort of loop and sequence if they're dynamic. So that's why I've sort of gravitated. If I was smart, I'd probably try to push more towards movies, but it's just fun. Um, do I do anything different with the mastering process with the orchestral sounds? I really just focus on the limiter. I find I don't need to compress very much, and compression can kind of ruin the dynamics of an orchestra, unless you're going for like super epic, you know, all the way, and then you kind of have to do it to taste. Someone saying, I'm a filmmaker. Any chance to get you to make some scores for future zombie series I'm working on? Sure, hit me up, man. I'm down to try it out. Would be worth upgrading from East West Colossus to Spitfire. I'm not familiar with Colossus. I actually don't have any East West stuff. East West is another company that makes stuff. They actually make really great stuff based off the samples I've heard, but it doesn't use Contact. Everything that I'm using, as you can see, is based out of Contact. And the East West stuff is they use their own proprietary engine called the Play engine, and I just have a lot of friends who've tried to use it with a Mac and I've had a lot of problems with it. So that's made me a bit apprehensive to sort of go down that path. But they're priced really well, and they have this very attractive subscription program. But there's also other quirks about programming that I don't know. I feel like it's something that's sort of been, you know, with newer iterations getting better. But there's a lot of stuff that's carried over with the scripting and stuff that makes it kind of finicky to work with. I have my sort of setup, but you know, I'm not sure if you should upgrade or not. If you know how to use the East West stuff, that's its own sort of language, if that makes sense. And if you want to get a hold of me, Benjamin Hansen, just shoot me a message on Facebook. That'll work. I'll get it. I have not used Miroslav Philharmonic. There's so many libraries. I'm like kind of obsessed with them, but you know, I'm aware of a lot more libraries than I actually own. But I kind of have to go off the samples, or if I try some at a friend's place or whatever, because they're pretty expensive, and you know, I understand the feeling of like, you know, buying a library for like $400 or $500 and then not using it that much. Someone saying you can use East West stuff in Contact. That's the first I've ever heard of that. But yeah, anyways, that hopefully that gives you a little overview of how all this stuff works, you know, and how I integrate it into a rock context. Based off what people are saying here, I think the next stream I'll probably focus more on the orchestral side and show how I have that template set up and the cool things you can do with all these different articulations. Because if you look at something like, let's say we open up the chamber strings here, or you know what, let's open up a new track, because I'll show you. Like, this is I'm using like basically 10% of what these things can do. So like, let's say we open up a new one, and let's say that we open up violin 1. So they have this set up for like the commonly used articulations, and you can control these via key switching, you know, hitting these lower keys at the bottom, or via CC, MIDI CC. But like, so you got your legato there, right? And then you've just got your longs. And then you've got your spiccato. Right? Staccato, which is longer. Pizzicato, which I'm sure you guys recognize. Col legno, which honestly I never use. This is where you hit the string with the wood side of your bow. It's kind of a cool curiosity, but I never use that. Tremolo, which is awesome. Very dramatic. And then you've got your trills, which I'll use sometimes. And then they've got more articulations. You know, like the decorative techniques there. Like Sol Ponticello, which means on the bridge. It's very, very sort of harsh nasal attack and sound. But they have one of my favorite patches. I just gotta find it. Where's Flautando? Can't. Maybe it's core techniques. So this goes really in depth, as you can see. And this is what you get if you get the sort of specialized. You get Consordino, which is where it has a mute. Right? Harmonics, which I never use. But then you get Flautando, which is one of my favorite sounds. It's played a very specific way. It's supposed to sound like a flute. It kind of does. It's just... Anyways, you get the idea of that. But yeah, so we'll go over all that stuff in the next stream. And there's a way to actually map this out so that you actually have all your articulations here. And as you're programming, you can choose which note hits what articulation. It's really cool. It's kind of one of Cubase's advantages, which is why I really like composing in Cubase. But there you go. All right. Let's see. One thing I like from NI Symphony series is the auto DVC feature. Yes, that is very, very cool. And that is because the Audio Bro guys did that. Actually, I'll show you guys that really cool, really quickly. Gotta just find... There we go. Batman Cries. This is like the most fun thing to play on ever. You'll see why. It sounds fantastic. LA Scoring Strings is like one of those libraries that you have to have if you really want like an intense string library. And this has intelligent DVC, so it actually like figures out how to separate the lines for you. That's loud. That's very, very loud. It's way too loud. So yeah, that's a really sweet library. Anyways, yeah, I could go kind of nuts with all this stuff, but anyways, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope that this was entertaining, and I will see you soon with a new stream. Hopefully, going into more depth with the orchestral stuff. Bye.